Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman. Looking forward to seeing you today at Beck's Place in Overland Park, 87th Street, just west of Antioch. 4 to 6. I'll be there. Pete will be there. Mark has already called in sick on that one. He's got carpool duty or something like that, but that's okay. We're looking forward to meeting so many listeners and coming on by. If you want to go to the website and sign up, that's great. We're just trying to get an idea how many people are coming, but I shouldn't say this. I'm not sure that's mandatory. If the place is open to the public, you can come on by, right? We're going to a restaurant. Apparently, they have great burgers there. I may order one up and have that for dinner. Although I've been counting calories the last few days. I added a few pounds since Thanksgiving. Imagine that. And I don't like the way that's going. We start the show today with I am not a cruise person. Let me just clarify that from Pete's segment a few minutes ago. But I'm definitely going on a cruise in 13 months. I know that sounds like a long ways away. We have some friends that have been before on when they unveil one of these largest, newest ships in the world. They say when you go on one of these, you don't. If you think you've been on a cruise, you have not until you do this. So we're going to do it. We're going to go on it, and I think it's going to be spectacular. And that's a year from January of 27. We're going on a cruise and looking forward to it. Not the thing this guy Virgil was on.
When Pete called you a cruise guy, I thought about this.
I think Pete's behavior has been egregious.
Yes. Pete, your behavior's been egregious. Even Brett Yormark said it at a symposium last night. Do not have egregious behavior on the airwaves towards your coworkers. This is not good. We're all just having a little fun. I haven't even had that much caffeine today, and I feel like $1 million. The last couple nights, I've slept so well. It is unbelievable what a couple of good nights sleep will do for a human being. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to tell you about a high school in San Diego that rented out a gym and it turned into a crap show on a live stream. Not a sporting event. They turned it into some sort of a 24-hour game show and wound up with drag queens, foot licking, and a mock crucifixion at a public high school. You think they got problems in California? Wait till you hear this story later on. We will talk a little bit more today about the Paramount and Netflix both attempting to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. And a new twist on this, people on the left don't want Netflix to get it. Mostly people in Hollywood, actors. I'll explain why. That sounds like there's going to be bipartisan agreement on this thing. And a former soccer star in England gets 6 months sentence for grossly offensive posts on X. That's right. That's right. They're absolutely targeting people now in the United Kingdom. No more free speech. That's dead and gone. We start today with why do we always play defense? I liked Trump's speech last night well enough. I thought he crossed the line a couple of times. He called, I don't think it's right at this point to call Joe Biden an SOB. Just let the man go. Let go of him personally. If you want to slam the policies of those 4 years, knock yourself out. He doesn't need to make fun of Ilhan Omar for wearing a turban, although it was funny. I'm not going to lie. I laughed when he said it. And some of these other things. I mean, he's got the ability to lose sight of what the message is when he's giving a speech in front of people because he's such a natural entertainer. I know this has happened to me. You get on a roll or you get in front of a crowd of people, maybe at Beck's today, right? And you start going, and maybe there's a little more hyperbole, maybe a little more animated than on radio, whatever. People have a natural ability to do that, to want to entertain. And Trump did some of that. But the whole tone of this thing, going out and giving this speech, was playing defense. And I know the man has described himself always as a counterpuncher. I'm not coming after you. I'm going to be nice to you until you're crappy to me. Then I'm going to hit you so hard you're not going to know what hit you. And I think that's what he thought he was doing last night. And this was just the first salvo, so maybe he's right. And maybe we'll look up in 6 weeks or 8 weeks and Americans in polling will say, wow, the economy is much better than we thought. We didn't know some of the things that he's talking about. Maybe it is the right thing to do. But I am sick and tired of responding to everything the Democrat politicians, power brokers, and media shovel up and feed Americans. And their latest is the term affordability, which they never talked about during the Biden administration. You know how fake they are, but it doesn't matter. If you respond to what it is that they're talking about, you're allowing the liberal media, you're allowing the liberal politicians, and you're allowing the liberal donor class and elites to basically decide what the issues are in America today. Donald Trump, over a decade, has cut through so much of that. Cancel culture is over. White people don't run around now afraid to say they're white or embarrassed or, I got this problem. White privilege isn't used much. There's a lot of things that just aren't out there anymore. The transgenderism thing is way down. It's not going to be as popular. You see this, all right, over time. And Trump has broken a lot of that down, and we can't thank him enough for those things. But one part of this cycle that needs to end is just let them sit over there in their vacuum and speak to their own people who are never crossing over and voting anyway. If MSNBC wants to talk about affordability all day, do we really care? Are there enough clips on Twitter and social media out there from MSNBC that after the fact, it's changing young people's minds? I know they think it will, but responding to stories drives me crazy. We've got to set the story. And one classic example is this crazy guy, Brian Cole Jr., who was the J6 bomber. Have you noticed this was a big deal last week? They had a news conference. We found him. We got him. And now it's not a story anywhere. Why is it not a story? It's not a story because no liberal media is going to report it. All the Democrat politicians are running from it. Nobody's asking any questions. And Republicans are doing a terrible job of painting a picture on this guy, painting him to be exactly what he is. He was a recluse. He was a bit of a freak. We learned last week that Biden's FBI knew of this man in 2021, and somehow that's not a big story. They didn't go after him. They had his phone. His name is in the J6 Select Committee documentation. They redacted his name. They had the name Brian Cole Jr. and redacted it and have done nothing with it. Because why? Because a bunch of liberals in D.C. decide what the news is. I don't know how we break this. We can talk about legacy media fading and not being very important anymore and nobody watches CNN or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Their impact is real. It's considerable. It's genuine. And it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Now we learn Brian Cole Jr., the J6 bomber who built 2 pipe bombs and left one outside the RNC, one outside the DNC. Now we learn he's a brony or brawny. I don't know which. B-R-O-N-Y. I don't know which this is. I really, truly don't. But he is. There is a book written by Dr. Daniel Chadbourne about bronies, that it is a unique subculture of adult males breaking gender norms. So we got another gender freak that was building bombs and doing whatever. Have you noticed the most heinous crimes? Charlie Kirk's assassin was a furry or was interested in furry culture. Have you noticed the people that are committing these crimes? That they're all mired down in some sort of self-loathing, stay at home, keep my eyes on my computer screen all day, dive down into the deepest, darkest places of the internet and find out something that's a brony. Do you want to know what a brony is? A brony's that there's something called My Little Pony. Now, I'm going to defer to Mark. Mark, do you know what My Little Pony is? He's on the phone with a caller right now. Do you know what My Little Pony is?
Yeah, I know what
Can you explain to me what the franchise is?
It's just a cartoon, basically, of these little ponies that go around and do.
And they're lavender color, and they have multicolored hair, and they're cute.
Yeah.
And the audience is little girls.
Oh, yeah.
Ages?
5 and under.
5 and under, like the littlest of girls.
Yeah.
And are there books?
There might be books.
Can you buy a T-shirt?
Yeah, T-shirts.
Okay, so it's a franchise.
Dolls, yeah.
Adult males in the weirdest places on the internet are bronies and dive down into a little girl culture, fantasizing about either being a little girl or being with a little girl in a subculture of adult males that break gender norms. So at one point, this became so big that some of these adult males were having conventions. It got too controversial. They're like, we don't want to be identified. So this guy that made the pipe bombs, he had 3 or 4 different fake names online that he went as. We know what the aliases are. He was hiding in dark places of the internet, living in a little baby girl's culture called My Little Pony. This is a sick freak. Lock him up. Get the story out there. Why would we not? Why are Republicans so bad at this? You arrest the guy after 5 years, a J6 pipe bomber, and the story just goes away in minutes. And we learn that the FBI had his name, and now we learn he's a gender freak, creeping on little girls and little girl culture. And we're not making a big deal of this. That's on us. Trump's running around talking about affordability. Why? Because that's what the Democrat legacy media are talking about. So he's counterpunching. I say the remainder of the Trump term, we stop counterpunching. I say he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world. The bell rings and you just go out there and knock the sucker out right in front of you. Don't wait for him to take a swing at you. Go get him. It's your chance. And there's nothing more obvious than a story like Brian Cole Jr. that nobody's talking about. I shouldn't be surprised. We're busy with affordability. 913-408-7957 is our phone number. That's 913-408-7957. Love to hear your thoughts on these topics or any other that you may have. Next on KCMO.
From Lawrence to Leavenworth, it's Kevin Kietzman. Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Hang on to your hat. It's windy out there today. Ooh-wee. That is the weirdest weather forecast they just gave. Up and down we go. It's all good. We are 2 weeks and a day away from Christmas. Very exciting. Love this time of year. Hope you have great plans with you and your family. Should be a lot of fun. We're taking your phone calls right now on KCMO Radio, 913-408-7957. We start today with Stephen in KCK. What's up, Stephen?
Hey, Kevin, how's it going, buddy?
I'm okay.
Boy, all right, your political instincts are really good. I think you missed a career as an operative. But
well, they work till they're 88. I got like 3 decades left, man. I can go jump in.
Right, another career. But it was fascinating what you said in that. They're pumping these kids full of hormones, and this is the result of what happens. Is what my gut tells me. I don't know much about this. I don't know. I'm glad I don't know anything about this stuff. But like you said, the strategy for the midterms is the chief of staff, Susie Wiles, says they're going to treat this like a general election, and we have to force the media. They're never going to cover the Somali fraud. They're never going to cover, like you said, the trans Tifas, but they will. But what we will do is like we're going to have to force them to cover, like when Trump goes to McDonald's or Trump goes and does the garbage cans, or does the garbage worker, or Sydney Sweeney is, you have to make them do it against their own interest. That Sydney Sweeney is the biggest movie star in the world, and she's a registered Republican, and she's getting flack. That we have to play jujitsu.
I don't think she gets that much flack. I think they've found her to be bankable if she does something that makes money. And the way Hollywood is these days, they need more people like that.
Right, but we have to use the media against itself.
I agree. I agree.
But the problem is where we're, what the Democrats are really good at is they're good at
setting the tone.
Anticipating what will happen. Not even saying the tone, anticipating. Like on the drug boat case.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'll disagree with you there. I don't think they're great at anticipating what's down the road. They're really good at bait and switch. They'll come up with something that, come on, dude. 3 weeks ago, Epstein was the biggest story on earth. And then all of a sudden, Jasmine Crockett says something stupid. They find this other, the guy in the House, the minority speaker in the House, had a letter that he sent to Epstein. All of a sudden, Democrats are tied to it, and the story just goes away.
You think it's an accident that
No, I think they're stupid. I think they're stupid. They didn't know.
No. With those 6 senators and CIA people came out with that message right before the oh my gosh, there's footage of Pete Hegseth, but they had that out a week ago.
Yeah, maybe, but that's a rare case, and that's not working either. Those boat strikes are very popular with Americans. Look, Stephen, thank you, buddy. I got more callers on the line. It's a good call as always. I don't think they're great at anticipating things. I think they're great at coming up with something, seeing if it sticks, and when it doesn't stick anymore, move on to the next big fake thing. It's just ridiculous. This affordability thing, compared to Biden, this is an absurd conversation. It shouldn't even be addressed at this point. Do you realize we have gas lines all over the country right now because gas is so cheap? I saw a story on Denver Media, Denver Local News. $1.66 a gallon at a Quick Trip in Colorado. They had like 50 cars in line, people trying to get the cheap gas. That should be the story, not affordability. Look at this. When was the last time Americans lined up to get fuel? Maybe during COVID or something like that. When was the last time we saw gas lines? And has it ever been for a good reason? Gas is so cheap, I'm going to go fill up. I've never heard of that in my life. Never. And it's happening all over the place. You got to stop letting the Democrats do this, man. Here's Mark and Shawnee. Welcome to the show, Mark. How are you, buddy?
Hi, Kevin. I'm doing good. As usual, you've got me fired up, and you're dead on with that. And the key word that you said is stupid. And the problem is to think that this entity, our government, the liberal media, the DIMocrats, they have people, and they know that we're so stupid they can manipulate and tell stories that aren't true. When you think about what's going on in this country, how we're so low, and how can you sit there and say Trump's got a 41% approval rating? Are you serious? I mean, but talk to people. They're stupid. And it's sad to think that as Americans, we're that stupid. And I had friends that I don't have anymore because they're stupid. The sick thing, Kevin, is I think there's a divide in this country, and I don't know how we get it back.
Well,
You think
we're
Trump
getting
can
it back.
change this around in a year?
Let me make you feel a little better. We're getting it back. Let me give you a couple examples over the last 10 years, okay? Does race baiting work anymore for the Democrats?
I don't think it works anymore. For the
It doesn't work
Democrats.
for them anymore. It doesn't. It doesn't. White privilege doesn't work. Race baiting doesn't work. Most of the things that they come up with have a shelf life. Now, the race thing lasted generations, but it's broken down now. How about cancel culture? They came out against free speech, and people got canceled for what they said. It's why we named this show Uncanceled. Who's getting canceled now? Nobody. It's on, man. Say what you want. So it's dead and gone. Their stuff is always temporary because Americans figure out for themselves that what the Democrats are peddling is complete BS, and nobody wants it. Nobody wants to be called a racist because you're white, okay? Nobody wants to be canceled for exercising free speech. Nobody that I know wants to be a brony and adore little ponies that little girls adore, or be a transgender and go get some sort of operation and change my genitals. I don't know people like that. The more we put that out there, the more Americans see that party is wrong. That party is wrong. And I just don't feel like we do a good enough job of it. It's taking too long. I think where we are is the fourth quarter of a game. We're up 17 points. It's time to just bury them. Just bury them and be done with it. But I feel like we're just dragging them along and keeping them in the game.
I agree with you, Kevin. It's well said. I can't add to that.
Thank you, buddy. Great call. Mark, I appreciate you, man. You're an excellent caller, and I love your passion. Here's James in Olathe. Good morning, James.
How you doing this morning?
I'm fine. How are you, sir?
Good. I have to agree with the previous caller that in spite of, I'm bought into the whole conservative concept and all that kind of stuff, but the Democrats just spoke to Republicans on this propaganda like crazy. I mean, I don't know why the Republicans, this not releasing these illegal criminals in these cities and county jails. I mean, why don't they paste the mugs of these people all over advertisements and list all the crimes and then put the mug of that Minneapolis mayor right next to him? I mean, they need to, what do you see? You see always chaos in the street. They always got somebody with a phone taking a picture of some gal that shows up and has herself getting grabbed by an ICE agent. And the whole, and they paint this picture like there's so much chaos. And the Republicans,
All right.
I
hear
just
you.
don't have anybody on the payroll that seem like they're asleep at the switch.
I hear you, man. Good call. I appreciate what you're saying. But know this, because it's not rooted in truth, what the Democrats say, eventually it just goes away. I just want that to happen faster. This is Uncanceled.
From Gladstone to Gardner, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
So I'm getting a couple texts from folks that I know here, Mark, after talking about the cruise we're going on next year, which I can't wait to go on, by the way. And they're saying you've never cruised until you've gone on a river cruise, which you've seen these in Europe. They look spectacular.
Oh, yeah. My parents have gone on it.
Have they?
Oh, yeah.
Love the river cruise.
Mm-hmm.
So you may know the name Danny Clinkscale. He's a friend of mine, was on my old radio show for a long, long time, and he still does some work with me here and there. And he recently went on a river cruise, said it was like the greatest experience of his life. And I told him, this is what's funny about cruising. I said, you know what, Danny, I'm excited. In 14 months, I'm going on the newest, biggest ship in the world, and I can't wait. And he went, oh, like, no, that's why we do river cruises. It's so personal and, white table. Like, it's everything for everyone. There's a ship for everybody. I think that's the thing, is being on the water is great. Getting on vacation is awesome. I told you before the show started today, one of the problems I have when I go on vacation with my wife or even another couple, if we go to a place and it's more than like 3 nights at one place, one beach, one resort, whatever, I get bored. I get a little bored. I'm like, okay, it's the same thing every day here. What else can we do? And I never have found that to be a problem on a ship. There's always another band or another show or something to go see.
You need an excursion or something like that.
And, they got a sports book on there.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
My FanDuel app going on the cruise next year, baby. That'll be the NFL playoffs.
I'm ready to go.
Jessica,
I'll jump on with you.
So Jessica was like worried. She goes, you're booking a cruise in January. The Chiefs are going to be on a playoff run. I said, great. We'll watch in the sports book.
Yeah.
We'll go bet on them and watch. You're not going to miss any Chiefs action. But after this year, she doesn't seem to be as concerned about missing the Chiefs in the postseason next year. Again, that's 13 months away. That's how far out we're planning this thing. But looking forward to it. Pretty cool stuff. All right, a couple other stories here. Let's go around the country a little bit. This one's in San Diego, and this is just unbelievable. A San Diego high school rented out their gym. This is in the Union High School District, and the district says they did not know this was happening. But the high school rented out their gym, to a group that said they were going to do a live stream. This should have been a terrible sign of a game show on something called Fansly, Fansly. It is the competitor now to OnlyFans. So you know where this is going. This thing is a 24-hour live stream game show in a high school gym where eventually some kids showed up and wanted in the gym and they were locked out. And they kept this live stream going. It went on over 20 hours. They had drag queens, feet licking, and a mock crucifixion live streamed at this sick event. And it just kept going and going and going. The district says we may pursue legal action. They're talking about pursuing legal action against the people that did it. Well, that's a loser. Somebody at the school permitted this to happen, signed the contract. Most people in California are reacting, saying public schools are so broke, they'll rent a gym or a facility to anybody with some money so they can buy supplies for their teachers, whatever. So they're willing to just rent it out to anybody. Well, it's obvious they're willing to do that. This is a highly rated school, apparently, where this thing took place. And I think the people that perpetrated this probably feel like they got one over because it was a pretty good high school they got into and pulled this thing off. There were weird things in this show, but here's the funny part. I looked at some of it, and it's not the crazy total creepers you would think. There really were things that were game showish, like splashing people into Jello pools and different things that weren't too. I mean, that's kind of gross, getting thrown into a Jello pool. But I could see that. People do things like that at a county fair, But this is really easy. You don't sue the people who rented it. You fire the people that allowed it. And if you've got a teachers union issue, then you take that up with the teachers union. How could you be the principal or the person in charge of renting this out and not knowing what Fansly even is? You didn't do a quick 30-second Google search and see what's going on over there on Fansly, where apparently 24-hour game shows are all the rage. And any idea you come up with, it's all yours. They just invite you. It's the fans come in. You're invited. And if you want to do a game show and have it's basically a challenge. It's basically tag your it. Will you try this? Will you lick the chocolate off this beautiful girl's feet? It's pretty weird and completely inappropriate. But your issue really is with the people that allowed this to happen without them vetting this in any way. And how did we get to be a society that doesn't vet anything? We're just not going to check. We don't know. We just want the money. Let them in here and let them do what they want to do. You're hearing a lot about Paramount and Netflix each trying to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. It's a massive movie studio, Warner Brothers, and Discovery's a whole bunch of television channels. The Netflix offer is less, but doesn't include, as I understand it, in their first offer, does not include taking over CNN. It would be to a third party. It would be a spinoff. A lot of the TV properties, the linear, as they call them, properties, would be spun off. Netflix is uninterested in that. They're uninterested in cable television or linear television. They don't want any part of it. We know what Netflix likes and what they want to do. But they want to own Warner Brothers' library of all the superhero movies, everything Warner Brothers has ever done, and everything they can create and do in the future. Paramount, Skydance, which is the name of the company, Skydance, is a movie studio that owns linear television. They own CBS, Nickelodeon, a bunch of MTV, all the stations that were Viacom at one point. They're involved in both, and they like operating all types of media. There is a massive concern on the left now. Jane Fonda, who I haven't heard her name forever, is speaking out against Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery because she said that will be the end of movie theaters. That Netflix, like, for example, AMC headquartered in Kansas City, Netflix wants to just cancel AMC. There will be no more movie theaters. Everything's delivered straight to the home. And if they own Warner Brothers, control all that content, the only way to get it will be a Netflix subscription. That they want to take over the world one house at a time and end the way people have lived for a long, long time. I hadn't thought of that, and I didn't know that was going on. And now that I hear that, that sounds right. The CEO of Netflix, as recently as a month ago, referred to going to the movies, a movie theater, as outmoded. He could have said outdated, but he didn't. Outmoded. And now, since this hostile takeover from Paramount, Skydance, is taking place, he has put out a statement that he is, quote, deeply committed to theatrical releases and wants to keep all the movie theaters. Well, great. How about Netflix buys all the movie theaters? You got enough money to do that. Why don't you go make some sweet offer to AMC and buy up all their theaters and put your movies in there? This is wild, folks. This is probably the most important media takeover / merger event ever in the United States. I don't know how it ends. I'm not smart enough to know whether Netflix really does want to crush theaters and end that. I suspect they do. I suspect there's a lot more money in it for them if people are just staying home and watching. Remember, they have ads on their platform now, unless you pay a whole bunch more money. So they make money every single way. They do it through subscriptions, multiple levels. They do it through advertising. They create content. They get other people's content. They do it all. Netflix is a behemoth. That's a great American success story that is also insanely liberal. And the liberals now are mad at them because they want to close movie theaters. People in Hollywood are like, wait a second, these are our people. Netflix, these are our people. This is our culture. And they want to just end movie theaters? Like, Tom Cruise is an older guy, right? If you want to do a search on this and read stories about Tom Cruise and what he thinks about people going to the movies, he makes movies that people want to go see. Top Gun Maverick a couple of years ago was made for $167 million, and it did $1.5 billion in the box office. That's a giant winner for Paramount. It's only, like in the last year, been available on streaming on Paramount Plus. He had a major Mission Impossible movie come out when? Last May? The Final Reckoning or whatever, like the last one. We watched it the other night. It was a little too long, but it was good. Tom Cruise makes good movies. It made money. It made gabs of money, and just now got onto Paramount Plus for you to see. His entire mission is to make big popcorn movies that a liberal or conservative or anyone in any country, anywhere, would go to the movies, have a good time, and actually see and be around other human beings. Get some popcorn. Go to the soda machine. See a ticket taker. Thank somebody on the way out. Meet a stranger. Sit next to somebody you don't know. These are all good things for human beings, by the way. I think it's one of my great attractions to sporting events. I don't always want to be around strangers or other people. None of us do. But to sit at home and just live in a culture where you're on your computer, reading things all day, and watching all your entertainment on Netflix is not healthy. Even if you're in a good relationship, it's probably not healthy for your relationship. Get out there and live a little. If I get to the point where I'm not getting, one of the main reasons I took this position doing this show is it gets me out of the house every day. They thought I was crazy. They're like, well, you can do this from your house. You have a home studio. I'm like, no, I want to come to work. Do you not understand? I want to come to work. I've met some of the nicest people here. They're great. We're having a holiday party next week. It's going to be awesome. They've treated me great. I think I'm fairly respectful to all of them. I don't know. Maybe they hate me. I don't know. But I try, and I like being here, and I like getting out of the house. Live a little. We don't want every Warner Brothers movie ever made to just be on Netflix. I want to go see the Neil Diamond movie that comes out on Christmas Day, Song Sung Blue. This is not a biopic. It's not about Neil Diamond. Do you know the story of this movie, Mark?
I don't know it.
It is a love story between two people. The actors are Hugh Jackman, who can sing and dance. That's well established, and Kate Hudson. They fall in love, and he can't write a song. He can't really play or write music, but he can sing, and he's a really good entertainer. And so he has this idea for a Neil Diamond tribute band, and she sings with him. It's called Lightning and Thunder or something like that, and she's apparently terrific as well. And I don't know what happens in their life, but it's the story of their life. There had some tragic things happen. They went on to open for like Pearl Jam. It's a true story. I can't wait to see it, and it's filled with Neil Diamond songs. How bad can it be? You can be 16 years old and think Sweet Caroline's cool. You can be 116 and think it's cool. So that's the kind of thing that if you go to the movie theater when it's out and you're in there with a whole bunch of other people and you walk out feeling good and hearing all these songs and your life is just invigorated from the last hour and a half, sharing that and experiencing that with other people is real. It's something we should all do. Mark, it's a big part of church and community and anything, or city council meetings, for crying out loud. Anything where people gather and share spaces is just good for humanity. I don't know why we want to get to a place where we never have to see anybody. We're going to all just be hermits and sit at home and be on our devices. And if that's what Netflix is up to, then I'm rooting for Paramount again. Scoreboard's 2-0. Paramount's not liberal. Netflix is. Paramount wants to own CNN. That has to be good for CNN. And Netflix apparently wants to cancel movie theaters. So, yeah, this is an easy scoreboard for me. Dateline England. A retired soccer star named Joey Barton has been convicted, guilty of grossly offensive posts on X. Well, the first thing I thought of was grossly offensive. Well, these aren't even Dave Portnoy offensive. They're not even close. There's no nudity. They didn't break any, the important part is he broke no rules of X. Okay? A judge has found him guilty and sentenced him to 6 months suspended because he took shots at soccer broadcasters that were not nice. The judge said you humiliated them and you could have caused them distress when you compared one of them to a pedophile or a killer. Okay, that's too far. I wouldn't do that. People do that all the time, and I don't know what the exact post was. He was making a joke, and it wasn't funny. In Dave Portnoy's defense last week, when he said murder Pete Carroll because his bet didn't cover and Pete Carroll was involved in this, that's about as bad a thing as I've heard anybody famous put on Twitter in the spoken word. I saw it. I think Dave Portnoy's crazy, but I didn't think he wanted me to go murder Pete Carroll for him. And I didn't think he was going to murder Pete Carroll. It was too much. But in our country, that's not a crime. It's something that maybe should get you canceled for a while, certainly make you apologize. Portnoy's apologized for it. But this guy in England, 6-month sentence, they suspended it, so he's got to be good for 6 months. I don't even understand what's going on in England. They're allowing people to come into their country all over Europe. You know, these Christmas markets are getting destroyed everywhere. Christmas markets are a unique thing in Europe. I don't think we do them very much here. We would call them a Christmas village. Like you would set up some things, but these are stores. It's more like, I don't know, if you think, what do they call it when the Olathe Parade happens? What do they call it's not Olathe Day Parade?
Old Settlers Day.
Old Settlers Day. And there's vendors on the street and there's tents everywhere. And it's a community market for a whole weekend, right? So these are great events. Most municipalities around Kansas City do these things. In Europe, they have all kinds of places that celebrate Christmas that way. And anti-Christians are coming in at night. Well, there's problems on the street. They had to spend a whole bunch of money for security. And then the anti-Christians are coming in and destroying stuff at night. It's awful. All right, we come back. I got some tasty topics from Mark. Uncanceled continues on KCMO.
Hey, it's Vince Gallane's Catch My News Show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Mark sent me a sweet text last night that essentially said what, Mark? T-Mobile says the Royals are evicting them at 119th and Null?
Yeah. That's what it seems like, at least.
Do you think we're going to look back and say, how dumb were we trying to guess where the Royals are going?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, And I heard Patrick Toohey say today he thinks they're staying where they are.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't even think FanDuel will offer those odds. Impossible. No, T-Mobile said in 2029 their lease is up. They've requested an extension to the lease, and the Royals entity that owns the property has said no. I mean, I guess they could always change their mind. I didn't know there were still 3,500 employees there. I had no clue. I thought the thing was all but shut down and T-Mobile moved most of the people out of town. I didn't know that. I apologize for not knowing that. But it sounds like the Royals don't want them there. They want those buildings. Guess I'm not surprised. Hey, they do a lottery for the draft in Major League Baseball. I don't know how many people follow sports or whatever. They put the ping pong balls in the machine like Powerball, and you have a certain number of balls in there or tickets, buttons, depending on where you finished last year to create odds. The Royals have stunk at this the last few years, not to their own failure, but if they had a year where they were like the 8th worst team in baseball, they wound up picking 13th, which isn't right. They do this so teams won't lose at the end of the year on purpose to get the higher draft pick. Like the Chiefs could lose their last 4 games this year and move up 10 spots.
Yeah.
You're not for that yet, are you?
No, not yet. If they lose to the Chargers, yes.
Sunday at 3:30, you're all for it, okay?
Yeah.
So the Royals were number 16 last year in record, right? And there were 3 teams that weren't qualified for the 1 spot for various reasons. It doesn't matter. The Royals had the 13th best chance of getting the number 1 pick, less than 1% chance. They didn't get that. But sitting at 16, they drew out of this thing with the 6th pick overall.
It's pretty solid.
That's unbelievable is what that is. They moved up 10 spots in the draft, essentially, because of lucky ping pong balls flying out of a machine.
Can get a nice pitcher at number 6.
You can get, yeah. I saw a thing today. It said, here are the 8 players that could be the number 1 pick. I'm like, 8 players could be the number 1 pick? The Royals are picking 6th.
It's good.
Well, one of them's there. Well, 3 of them are there. No matter what, 3 of them are there. Oh, you'll like this. Rosie O'Donnell's brother. Did you see what he's up to?
Oh, no. Is he still here in the United States?
Yeah, he's okay, apparently. He said, best decision she's ever made, honestly. His sister Rosie moving to Ireland.
Good for her.
Says she sought therapy for TDS. She cannot stop posting about Trump. She has a 12-year-old autistic child that has Trump derangement syndrome. And the therapist has constantly told her to just stop. Just turn it off and forget about it. And Rosie can't do it. She's addicted to that like Charlie Sheen on crack. It's the Trump derangement syndrome. I guess it can happen. I applaud her brother for pointing out, look, this has been good for her to just go over there and live that life. The Vince Show's coming up next. You're on KCMO Talk Radio. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. Have a great day, everyone.